All right. There we go. That's it. Come on. Stay to the middle. All right, now spread your legs. Keep a wide stance. There, right there, just like that. Just like that. Nice. I'm a coach.
You gonna show them how dangerous you are? Venus and Serena gonna shake up this world.
And today we have King Richard. Before you say anything, I'm very well aware this isn't a baseball movie. I don't have a tennis racket in my house. I'm not a sports boy. Don't ask me why I got a Louisville Slugger in the corner of my room, okay? Just, some things are better left unanswered. But yeah, today's film is King Richard, which came out this year in 2021. You probably heard about this movie because A, it stars Will Smith, and B, it's about the Williams sisters that are the big tennis people. Which even, as someone who doesn't like sports or care at all about sports, even I know who the Williams sisters are. I didn't know much about Venus, but I knew about Serena. So I am once again put in a very unique position. Similar to Diana and Ford versus Ferrari, I am put in the unique position to now review a film that I am again in an unbiased position of. Because I don't like sports, I'm not normally interested in sports, and I don't have any context for what's going on. King Richard is directed by Reinaldo Marcus Green, a man who I have no, again, context for. I wasn't aware of him myself, and even upon looking up his filmography, I am very unfamiliar with his body of work in general. Experienced at least 5 to 8 years, I think it was, so this guy knows his way around a film. He did a good job, I feel. Now, in terms of the cast, it's going to be very difficult for me not to touch on most of the family, but this is really a lot of talent here. Obviously, you have Will Smith, and I mean, if you don't know who Will Smith is, there's no hope for you. Everybody knows who Will Smith is, not only through the films and television that he's done and is famous for, but just as a person, as an actor, human being, celebrity. Like, he's one of those super big household names that even if you don't watch film, even if you don't like film, it is statistically impossible that you have not heard about who he is. One of the greats up there in terms of just giving these powerful, emotional scenes, while also being able to play certain characters well. I always viewed Will Smith as an actor who keeps things pretty safe with what he chooses to do. And he's normally very well liked. Like, most people enjoy his work and are usually on his side, regardless of what he does. Obviously, worth mentioning are the two gals that play the actual sisters, Serena and Venus. Demi Singleton, who has only just about 2 years or so in the game right now, but great job, kills it in the role, as well as her on-screen sister, Saniyya Sidney? I feel like it'd be Saniyya Sidney, who's been in the game for much longer, it seems. Like, again, a little over 5 years, I think, give or take, but both girls do a very good job of playing these two sisters. I would also assume that they're true to the character, as I have no context for the characters. And I think definitely worth mentioning, if not just for 2 or 3 really standout scenes, is the woman who plays their mother. Anjana Ellis? I already know that I've mispronounced her name and I apologize for it. Yeah, as a mother, very good job. It always is kind of weird because most of these films I'm going to go see, everybody does a very good job. There's very few films where the actors severely fall flat. But the family dynamic for everybody in this family, frankly, is great. It's one of those situations where you watch it happen and you're not like, oh, they're playing a family. It's like, no, I look at it, I see this, and I'm like, oh yeah, they're a family, yeah. It's weird and it's interesting because the movie itself, before I get into the details of it, the movie is about, it's called King Richard, so it's about the father, but it kind of gives the success that Venus and Serena have in their real life. I guess nobody would ever talk about their father too much. Again, I'm just speculating here based on what little I know, but this movie takes their accomplishments and gives credit to the father, which I would assume, it seems like this movie's trying to be like, oh, well, credit where credit's due, let's not forget about this man. He could be, it seems very overbearing and very outgoing in public, and it apparently got to a point where people knew that he was a very controversial person. It's hard for me to read the tone of the room on this one because I'm unfamiliar with the room itself, for lack of a better metaphor, but the dynamic seems to be like it's a father who had written out this plan for all of his family and his little girls to be successful and to conquer the world, basically. And he went about making sure to take the right steps, provide for them, train them, and try to get them on this path. But like, there's an argument to be made there if that's even like, at the end of the day, it worked, sure, but then, I don't know, was it being too much? Was he being too overbearing? Some people said so, but then there'd be moments in the film where even Will Smith as the father was like, hey, well, I want to make sure these girls still grow up and have a childhood. I want to make sure they're still experiencing what life has to offer for a kid and not just go immediately into the spotlight and stay there. So it's kind of weird how he like would go push so hard for the success and for the hard work and training, but then also make sure to kind of like, as soon as the steam and the pressure picks up and, you know, that train takes off from the station, he immediately pulls the brakes, and which is what happened in real life, evidently, and pulls them out of the professional circuits and just has them train while living a life. So it's an interesting decision, and one that made them very well known, and also it was a very controversial move, but it was all portrayed well and evidently ended up being in the service of a greater cause for this. Overall, solid film. I don't know if I already mentioned it, but I got some major like Ford versus Ferrari vibes from this. And again, I think Ford versus Ferrari did a better job of nailing the excitement and the technical side of the sport, because I don't give a shit about racing either, but Ford versus Ferrari made me care about racing, so I was able to like get behind it. This film did not succeed in, kind of a con, I guess, but this film didn't succeed in the same way. It didn't make me care more about tennis than I already did, which was nothing. I don't give a shit about tennis or sports, like I said. Sorry to keep making these comparisons, but I don't have a big well of sports films I've seen to draw from. While Ford versus Ferrari managed to like educate me a bit on the history and make me care about the sport enough to like get what was going on, appreciate the technical side of this, you know, of the race they were in, as well as the race itself. This was like, I didn't learn anything about tennis aside from like stance, speed, and just like don't let the ball go out of the court. This film was definitely more about the people and the characters involved. It has more, I'll say this film has more heart than Ford vs. Ferrari, but it did not win me over the same way that Ford v Ferrari did, for sure. But still impressive, seeing as how like I went into this film and I was like, you know what? I saw the trailer and I thought, I'm sure it'll be a good film, but I didn't have a desire to go out and see it. I just went and saw it because I was like, well, if I don't see it now, when am I going to see it? And I should at least go see it and give it benefit of the doubt, see if it like hooks me. And while I wasn't enthralled and enraptured, I thought it was good. And for a 2.5 hour film, or damn near 2.5 hour film, I never once was like, oh my god, this is dragging. It went by at a good pace. It was well paced. Told a story that I cared about, and I enjoyed seeing the dynamic and seeing Will Smith eat it up on screen as the dad who was like, now I'm gonna get my girls on the right path, and you ain't gonna fuck that up now, you hear? Like, it was good. It was handled very well, and it made for a good film, which I kind of had a feeling it was going to be good. So although I was kind of curious because I hadn't seen any marketing for it that had like Rotten Tomatoes is fresh, even though it is. But I was unsure of how it was going to end up. And I was impressed. They even were able to incorporate, like, you know, where they came from, the roots of, like, the rougher neighborhood they grew up in, and how that was impactful for them. Again, as someone who doesn't know the story, I felt like the story was handled well, but at the same time, I haven't read up into the reception of it. I'm trying to keep an unbiased perspective for this review in terms of just seeing it as a film and figuring it adapted its material well enough. And of course, there are very good messages in the film about family and about it. Films like this are able to not only showcase the characters but also bring to light like the important issues that, you know, obviously had an impact in this, like race relations and all this. And it's good that people keep, you know, bringing that up. Like that's a major part of why Serena and Venus made history to begin with, is because it was just kind of like a sport dominated one certain way by one primary ethnicity or kind of group of people, as a lot of sports were back in the day. People like them paved the way for what was then to come and what has come since then. And I like how films like this will also make sure to tell those stories, because those stories are what's important to be told. Nothing major to note about direction. It was pretty standard for a film. I mean, or for this case, the director didn't try to get too artsy or make any fancy shots, and it definitely wasn't bad or like too quick or anything like that. It was just, the direction was serviceable. It was good for what it was. It wasn't anything too special where I was able to note any creative and like decisions, so take that as you will. Like music, the orchestra, and the score, like nothing special, and it felt like almost every single scene, like, all kind of had the same inspirational tone to them. If they, like, a lot of this film was about the climb up, and there were very few moments of actually faltering or having major setbacks, which I felt like there'd be more setbacks in this film because the journey would be more harrowing, but things just kind of work out for our cast of characters, and I was kind of surprised they took that route. I don't know if that's how it actually went down, but it just seemed kind of surprising that things would work out so well and there'd only be a few moments of conflict for our story. I'm put in a very weird position because of the rating I'm about to give it, which I would say for King Richard, as a film in its entirety, I'd say a fair rating would be a solid 4 out of 5. Which is super funny that I give a 4 out of 5 because previously I gave Ghostbusters Afterlife a low 4 out of 5. But not only did I enjoy Ghostbusters Afterlife more, but I'm actually going to go out of my way to buy and see Afterlife again. But if I'm being in a surprising moment of like fairness and clarity and trying to be unbiased as someone who's reviewing the film, I think King Richard succeeded more in what it set out to do. Like I had more issues with Afterlife and I mean, that's a whole different review, but I'm able to stand here and say King Richard is a good film, like a great film even, a really great film, that although I didn't love it and I won't go out of my way to see it again in the future, I think it succeeded more in its vision and as a film than Afterlife did. It's kind of a weird position because I didn't like King Richard more than Afterlife, but it's, again, I feel like I'm in very unknown waters here, and I don't know if I'm the most qualified person to talk about all this because, like with Diana, and like with Ford versus Ferrari, I have no context for the history of the sport, of the characters. I've only ever heard the name Serena Williams through clickbait news articles and her professional history and career, what little of that I've gleaned. So as someone who's going into this knowing at the very basics who these people are and really just going to see a film, period, I think it was a great film, great performances. Will Smith anchors it with the two girls who play Serena and Venus, making it an emotional, not harrowing, I don't know if you'd even say coming of age, but an emotional journey with these characters, and I cared and I enjoyed it, and there were good moments throughout the film, and I'll remember it for a little while, I'm sure. But yeah, I wasn't too crazy about it. I recognize it as being a really good film. So see it in theaters if you want. I mean, it's worth a watch at the very least. Side note, I do love Jon Bernthal, and I just love how, like, he's still showing me that he can still play a wide variety of characters, because the coach he plays in this movie, while there's some moments where I saw classic Jon Bernthal breaking through, it's definitely a bit of a departure from most of the roles that he plays, so I just thought that was funny. But yeah, that's King Richard. Will Smith is always proving that he is a very capable actor and one of the best celebrities and actors around to this day, so I don't know if he's going to be winning any Oscars. I mean, I'm sure he might get a nomination for this film, but as usual, he proves that he can still hold his own. So that's all I got to say. Honestly, I don't have much else to say. Thank you so much for watching and supporting, and as usual, I'll see you in the next episode of whatever movie review that I do. I think next is Resident Evil, so that'll be fun. Anyway, goodbye, travelers.